Hey everyone, TheBarracuda57 here. With this video I'll be talking about stress, I'll be talking about the dark side of INFJ, the unhealthy side of INFJ, because yes, it exists, and not all INFJs are perfect, and not all INFJs are good, and not all INFJs are balanced or healthy. Now I'm not saying all the people in this video I'm addressing are bad people. I'm not saying that they're, unhealthy, damaged, broken, but I'm saying, these are aspects within our lives which are our weaknesses. They're the negative points of INFJ, and I'll be giving kind of insights, stories and examples of how to improve, be better, stronger, physically, mentally, spiritually, and I'll also talk about, daily common things which we do that are negative or can be improved. Now, before I give you the kind of examples of what I'm trying to say in this video, I'm quickly going to tell you a short story of what I used to be like when I was younger. When I was young, I was nothing close to what I am now. And what I am now was a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, a lot of effort, a lot of fighting, a lot of, hiding away, being by myself, and kind of believing in myself, pushing myself, and kind of self-therapy, as well as meeting healthy people and unhealthy people. Basically, when I was really young, I was almost the complete opposite of who I am now. I was very much the person who liked to create chaos. I was a very angry person. I had a lot of rage. I had a lot of anger issues. I was annoyed that the world wasn't the world which I imagined in my head. I had a perfect vision of what the world was in my head, and I was really angry that the world didn't live up to my expectations. And because of that, because I had such a perfectionist outlook, because I wanted the world to be good, and I hated conflict, and I hated people fighting, I had this idea in my head that because I make the world what it is through my thoughts and through my dreams and how I see it, therefore that must be what the world is. Unfortunately, the world in your head and the world of reality are completely different things. And that's not to say that you should hide yourself away from reality, but to be open-minded and to be able to kind of jump in between the dream world and the real world. When I was young, I was very much the trickster, very much the ESTP, the opposite of who we are. And I love playing tricks on people. I love creating chaos for the sake of creating chaos. So for example, in a classroom, I like to create disruption, be loud, create noise, to kind of because I just didn't like structure. I didn't like how everyone had to follow what the teacher was doing. I didn't like how we had to learn maths, and I didn't like, to be told what to do. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I wanted to think what I wanted to think, and I wanted to do and be the person I wanted to be. I didn't want to be regimented into society's way of thinking. And because of that, I was the trickster. A lot of people, didn't like me because they thought I was weird because of my functions, but on top of that, I loved to create chaos, and I was very much a trickster, and, I was a very angry person. So yeah, I was the youngest in my class, which also didn't help, and people just, didn't like it at all. And it's funny because in my head I knew exactly what to do to be good, and I was a good person and I did good things, but again, because I was a trickster, and also because I emitted an aura which was very kind of aggressive, very fierce, very angry, people didn't feel comfortable with me. So over time I managed to not be so extroverted in my anger, and I managed to dull it down and actually be there's no point being physical and kind of being aggressive, throwing things, or being aggressive towards people, because it doesn't sort anything out for yourself or for anyone else. There's ways to settle disputes and conflicts, which I've learnt now, which I do verbally very well because I've had to work to improve myself in that sense of things. So I stopped kind of being aggressive and physical when it came to conflict, and I learnt to be more verbal and coherent in speaking, because there's ways around everything, to be honest. But yeah, another aspect was I was very touchy-feely, I was a very huggy person, I was a very kind of emotional person. I'd cry, you know, the emotions and the kind of general essence I was giving off was very feminine. Now you could debate that feelers in general are seen as more feminine than thinkers. That's a debate for you to decide, but that's just a concept I'm throwing out there. But because I was a feeler and a very strong empath and very aware of emotions and very touchy-feely, I was often called gay, I was often called homosexual, because that's the childish way of doing things, like, oh, you have feelings, oh, you must be like a girl, and all these stupid things. But again, because you're young and you don't have such a resilient defense, it affects you really badly. And as you can see, it's affected me, and because of that I've had to improve myself, I've had to become hardened, I've had to become less touchy-feely and more empathetic in kind of like verbal empathy, and kind of like telling people situations, comforting them from a distance rather than going up to them and hugging them like I used to. Again, because of bullying, you know, we all have this. Because we're weird, different, all these things, we function differently, blah, you know, all these things we've heard before, you know. It damages you, but, you know, you can't be fixed unless you've been broken. So actually, the more damage you have, the stronger you get, basically. Which moves on to exactly where I want to be. The thing with us is we internalize a lot of emotions, a lot of conflict, and a lot of aggression, pain, anger, frustration, you know, all these things. And we keep it inside. And the thing is, we can bottle it up, and it's not good to do that. It's good to let it out, to talk to someone, to go to the gym, to have therapy, to do all these things. Now, because of this, we often have door slams, as many INFJs have talked about on YouTube and with other videos and articles. We have the grip, where we're just stressed and we're constantly using our extroverted sensing, our fourth and our weakest function. And because of that, you know, we give off kind of like an energy which is of a lower frequency because we're feeling not as good and not as on form as we usually are. What else? And because of that, we can be unhealthy, or we could be quite unbalanced in our views, mentality, and overall being. And obviously, I'll explain ways to kind of improve all these aspects as I continue with this video. But to be honest, it's just stress, basically. It's stress either from another person, from an event, from the way you think, from... It's loads of things. Stress could be so much. But the thing is, don't let it build, and obviously do things like meditation, read, listen to music, be by yourself for a little bit, and then go out there again. Just learn to balance, basically. Basically put, there are 5 main weaknesses. Now I know you could debate that there are more than this, and there are more than this, but I mean there are 5 main focuses which are our general weaknesses. And because of these, if you kind of like become aware of what your weakness is, you can learn to improve it, and therefore strengthen yourself and, you know, be more balanced and not, you know, kind of stay within this kind of mindset. The first one is we're very sensitive. Now a lot of empaths in general, or NFs in general, are linked to HSP. Now there's a test called the HSP test, which stands for highly sensitive person. Now you can do this test, and it's very much linked to emotions, it's very much linked to kind of like emotional awareness, empathy, and kind of like feelings. So have a look yourself. If you're a HSP, then, you know, that just generally means that you're an empath. But yeah, because we're sensitive to emotions, if we take on too many people's emotions, it becomes baggage to us. So basically, if someone's stressed out, we want to help them to the extent that we actually want to take on their problems and like become kind of like the scapegoat. Not like forcing people to make their problem our problem, but to the extent that we want to help them so much that we almost like metaphorically take their bag and put it on our back. But yeah, that's the thing, we want to help people so much, but it is good to be selfish. And I'm not saying be selfish, but I'm saying don't help too many people all the time, because then it just overloads you. You know, help as many people as you can, but obviously be selfish and have your own time off and do your own things, and don't become a slave to people. Because there's other aspects, like if you try and help people, people will start leaning on you, and people are like, this guy likes helping people, I'll use that. And if I can't be bothered to do something, I'll ask him to do it, because I know that he'll do it. Don't let people use you. Don't let people walk all over you. And, you know, have confidence to say no. There is no shame in saying no. In fact, if anything, it just, in being able to say no is good, because it shows balance. It shows that, yes, I'm willing to help people, but I'm not willing to be stepped on, and I'm not willing to be pushed around, basically. But yeah, a lot of INFJs have come to me and been like, oh, I like staying at home, you know, I'm very sensitive to people's emotions and I don't like going out. And I mean, that's fair enough. We like being indoors, we like being by ourselves, because when we're by ourselves we can think and be ourselves. But the thing is, too much of one thing is a bad thing. I mean, too much of anything is bad. There's no such thing as too much of a good thing, because, you know, it's like if you have chocolate. You like chocolate, but if you have too much of it, you get a stomachache. You can't have too much of a good thing. You need to balance it. And if you're at home all the time, I mean, there might be reasons you're at home, like, you know, you're a homebody, you're someone who likes to help people at home and not really go out because you're comfortable where you are. That's fair enough. Or, you know, if you're a homeschool mum or you're a homeschool dad and you like to stay at home, that's fair enough. But the thing is, you need to balance it. If you're at home too much, you don't get a balance of the extroverted world and the introverted world. And because of that, you have too much of one thing, which is really bad, because then you start losing touch of reality. You start having a single mentality rather than the flexible public and private mentalities. If you only have the private mentality where you're at home all the time or you're by yourself all the time, that's not good. And it also links to self-confidence, and it also links to other things, but I mean, you know, just learn to balance it. And, you know, balance is a really good thing. I mean, it's just like yin and yang. You can't have too much dark, you can't have too much good, but you should have a balance of both. Because if you just stay in one side, you're going to be biased to that one side, and you're only going to understand that one side. You know, you can't understand light without knowing darkness. And it's very much the same as, you can't understand what real life is like if you're always inside all the time. Now, we're very private people, which connects to what I said about, you know, we just love our privacy and we like to be at home a lot. But the thing is, yes, you need to go out and balance. I mean, like, we don't like telling secrets unless we completely trust someone. We don't like telling anything about ourselves that we feel someone might think is weird, because people think we're weird anyway. So if we like a subject which is considered weird, such as, you know, quantum physics, such as spirituality, such as meditation, such as auras, such as energy, such as thinking outside the box, abstract concepts, philosophies, the meaning of life, all these things, we have to be able to talk to someone that we feel comfortable and able to tell. Otherwise, you know, we're very private and we just won't tell you unless we feel like we can trust you, basically. But it also connects to, again, what I said in the other one of being at home. Now, a lot of INFJs make videos and say, oh, you know, I don't have a lot of confidence, I'm quite socially awkward, or I have social anxiety. Is this a common INFJ thing? It is. It is a very common INFJ thing, but the thing is, like everything, you should build on it, you should improve yourself. Things are only hard because you make them hard. That's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, I don't like going out because I'm scared of the outside world. There are so many... It's a negative mentality. Think of the good. Don't think of the world as a scary place. Think of it as a place with lots of opportunities, and the very fact you're inside every day, all the time, and not going out there and exploring the world, you're missing hundreds of opportunities that could get you to where your dreams are. I mean, there's opportunities every day, but you can only find them when you're outside. Now, a lot of INFJs love to travel, and a lot of people, you know, a lot of INFJs have dreams and want to do all these things, and they post them constantly on their Facebook profiles, or they talk about these things constantly. But the thing is, these people never go outside because they think that the world will just, you know, wait them hand and foot. If you want to travel, if you want to achieve your dreams, you have to go out there and you have to search for it and fight for it. It doesn't just get given to you, which is also another reason why you shouldn't stay indoors all the time. It's good to stay indoors, guys. I'm not saying that it's bad to only stay indoors, but I mean, you're missing so much by constantly being indoors. Learn to balance, learn to go out then come back, go out, come back, but don't have too much of one thing. And it also, going back to what I said about a lot of people talk about anxiety. Anxiety is only there if you believe it's there. I mean, if you find it difficult to talk to people, that's only because you think talking to people is difficult. Or maybe you've read about it and you're like, yeah, that's true of me, and because of that, that must be completely right. You know, just believe in yourself. I mean, just because you're talking to someone, and if you're talking to that person and you're thinking constantly, I'm socially awkward, he's thinking I'm awkward, he thinks I'm weird, that's a really negative mentality. Just talk to him and then see what happens. The thing is, we overanalyze and we overthink situations too much. Just don't think, just relax, chill. Talk to someone and, you know, be like, okay, this guy's talking to me, what's he talking about? And think about those type of things rather than think of all the negatives all the time. So I don't understand people who you know, talk about anxiety, social anxiety, feeling weird, feeling awkward, because it's only awkward because you think it's awkward. I mean, no one thinks you're awkward, it's just you're building up a scenario in your head that it's awkward, and therefore you're creating this wall and separating yourself from people, further making you want to go inside and stay indoors because you've convinced yourself that you can't speak to anyone, when actually that's just your judgment of it and not necessarily the truth, is what I'm saying. You create your own reality, guys, again, and I've said this many times. If you think the world is really hard and everything's really difficult and you can't do anything, that's only because you believe that's the case. If you believe that you can do anything, nothing can stop you, there are loads of opportunities out there you're missing. You know, everyone likes you, and if they don't like you, who cares? You know, all these things, then that's good. But again, you create your own reality. And if you want to get your dreams, and you want to do what you want to do, and you want to explore and to travel and all these things, you've got to put yourself out there. It doesn't get given to you. Life isn't a dream. You know, life isn't a dream, and it's not a waiter that waits on you hand and foot. It's not a butler. You have to go out there and fight for it. Or nothing will happen, and it'll just be the same constant repetition every day. And repetition bores us and it drains us, which is why I know, guys, like, you need to try and balance it and learn to be out there in the public face as well as the private face at home. Our third is we're perfectionists. And we want everything to be perfect, and we want the world to be perfect, but the thing is, the world isn't perfect, and you've got to realise that. And there are a lot of people who are INFJ or INFJ, and again, you know, I'm not going to point fingers because that's not the point of this video, but I mean, there are a lot of deluded people who think, oh, the INFJ is perfect, oh, everything about the INFJ is good, and nothing can be wrong with the INFJ. And there's no such thing as a bad INFJ, because it's not like they're human beings or anything, and they've got human being mentalities and human being judgments and do everything human beings do, because they're completely different. Wake up, stop being deluded and stop living in a dream world. I'm so fed up of seeing that all the time. I mean, yes, we're perfectionists, but I mean, we're idealists at the end of the day. We're not perfect ourselves, and if you think an INFJ is perfect, wake up, we're human beings. Ridiculous, ridiculous mentality. But again, there are some INFJs who are so deluded that they think that they're perfect, and they think that, oh, they're amazing, and, you know, it's all ego, ego, ego all the time. But yeah, I talk about that in another video, so I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm making you aware that some people do this, and it's a really unhealthy mentality if you do that. But we're perfectionists, so if we have an idea, or we want to paint something, or we have an idea that we want to bring to life, it's very difficult for us to do that, because, you know, because of how we function, our cognitive functions, the way we process, the way we do things, and all these things. And again, sometimes when we try and explain something to someone, we speak in a metaphorical way which is abstract, and a logical, concrete person will be like, what are you talking about? And because of that, we get annoyed because we have to try and speak in a logical, systematic, orderly way, because that's how the world works, unfortunately. But, you know, because of that, obviously, we learn that the world isn't perfect in so many ways. But that's not a bad thing, because if the world was perfect, then life would just be boring. And if everyone was the same, life would just be boring. So it's good that there are a mixture of types and life isn't perfect. But that doesn't mean it can't be perfect. Again, what you create in your head is what will come to fruition. So, you know, if you look at something and you go, this isn't what I idealize to be perfect, work on it, improve it, and because of that, you improve yourself in whatever aspect you're trying to improve. But also, because we're perfectionists, sometimes we can get depressed and, you know, get stuck in a loop, which is another video I do. I talk about depression, anger, and love. But because sometimes when we're trying to create something and it's not perfect, we get depressed and we shut ourselves away, and we need time to be by ourselves to kind of process what we did wrong and how to improve it. Now, again, depression is whatever you make it. I know you can have clinically depressed people, and obviously that's a whole topic in itself. But I mean, if you're depressed and, you know, you always see the negatives, again, it's good that you're seeing the negatives, because you're more realistic than someone who's optimistic all the time and is never realistic. So that's the complete opposite spectrum to a very depressed or negative person. It's good that you're negative, but don't live in that world all the time, because every cloud has a silver lining. There's good in everything. And if you can't see that there is good in everything, learn to be able to see that there is good in everything. There literally is. There's no such thing as a wall. There's no such thing as, you know, detachment. It's only there if you believe it's there. You know, if there's a wall, find a ladder, find a door, find a way around the wall. I mean, a wall's only there because it's there. It doesn't mean that it's blocking you. There's ways to get past a wall. There's ways to get around everything. So, you know, just think of the positives. You might think, oh, you know, everything's going bad, oh, I'm really sad and I'm stuck in a box and no one can help me. Think about it this way. You could be so much worse off. You could be a child starving in Africa, you could be stuck somewhere, you could be in a war zone, you know, just... You might be depressed, but you're a lot better off than some people out there who are struggling to survive. You might be depressed with something, but at the end of the day, you're not struggling to survive, and, you know, you're living at home, you have food, you have a roof over your head, you have things, belongings, things that you love, things that you care for, people that love you, things that love you, you know. You could have it so much worse off, so always look at the positives. Our fourth is everything has a meaning, and it also connects to we have to do everything for a reason. We don't do anything unless we feel the need to do something. This could be telling someone off, this could be educating someone, this could be stopping a conflict, this could be starting a conflict, this could be an idea, a philosophy, an action, a thought, you know, it could be hundreds of things. We don't do something unless we feel the need to do something, and a lot of how we do things is based on our feeling, because, you know, we won't do something unless we feel we want to do it. We won't talk to someone unless we feel we connect with them, and, you know, just like everything. We won't buy someone this gift unless we feel that it's the right gift to give to that person, and so on. You know. But because of it, like everything, you should see the good and the bad, but focus on the good. So again, because of the bad side of this, because we feel the need, there has to be a need to do something, sometimes that we can just lose inspiration. If you're an artist, sometimes you just don't have any inspiration, and you're like, what's the point? I don't have that drive anymore, I don't have that passion, and I'm not going to paint unless I feel I want to paint. Or I'm not going to create art, poetry, writing, I'm not going to help people unless I feel I need to help people. And the thing is, it's good that you're aware that you're like that, but at the same time, don't make it doom and gloom all the time. I mean, anything can be an inspiration. I mean, anything. It's just kind of like, changing your focus, changing your outlook. The very fact that you can't find that inspiration means that wherever you look, because you're clocked and geared into only never finding the inspiration that you need, you're never going to find it. If you change your focus and go, I'm not inspired, but I'm going to look today, and by the end of today I'm going to find something that inspires me. Because you've set a goal, because you've set a focus, because you've set a projected idea, you've changed your focus from negative to positive, and because of that, you're progressing, you're continuing forward. Again, there's no such thing as walls, it's just changing your focus and finding a way over the wall, through the wall, or around the wall. Again, there's no such thing as separation, and there's no such thing as a wall. Again, change your focus. It links back to perfectionism, it links back to sensitivity, and it links back to being private. As long as you change your focus, whether you change it from negative to positive, positive to realistic, nothing can go wrong. If you're stuck, change your focus. That's all you need to do. And finally, we burn out really easily because we can become really emotionally attached or very empathetic and because we're very emotionally fixed rather than logically fixed. We can burn out very easily because someone else's stress becomes our stress, and then we kind of burn off energy because we're stressed about their situation and we want to try and help them, and we're trying to think of ways to help them. We can be stressed because we're not feeling good, and because of that we can become really grouchy and really internal, and we can get stuck in the need-to loop, but that's for another video. We can be stuck in the grip, and if we're stressed or because we're burnt out, because we don't have energy which we've lost due to whatever reason, be it a person, event, a situation, all these things, we can burn out and we can just become really stressed. And because of that, we go from the kind of intuitive way of thinking to the extroverted sensing way of thinking, which jumps from our primary to our fourth function, which is our weakest function. And because of this, when you're using your SE, your weakest function, when you're stressed, you make really bad decisions because you don't go with your gut, you don't go with your feeling, and you don't really use your logic that much. You just base everything on, I'm just going to stereotype and assume what this situation is, but that's not necessarily the truth of what the situation or the person is. That's the thing. And again, because we're in this situation, we can be really emotional, we can get agitated easily, get angry really easily, get sad really easily, and we can door slam people. The thing is, we only door slam people if we feel the need to. Sometimes, it is the literal door slam. We'll go to our rooms, we want to be by ourselves so we can process what's happened and be on our own because we feel comfortable and ourselves when we're on our own. And it is literally the metaphorical or the actual physical door slam, where we get the door, slam the door, listen to music, and huddle up in the kind of fetal embryo position and just, either cry, rage, fume, sit there kind of staring into space, really angry or really, just trying to process what's just happened. And we literally won't talk to that person for a very long time, and it could be a couple of days, it could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, or we could completely shut that person out of our lives. But that rarely happens. Shutting someone out of our life is only for, the benefit of both them and for ourselves. So I've only ever done that with 2 people, but I've door slammed probably about 4 times in my life. And a lot of those were to my parents because I just couldn't explain myself because of our metaphorical and our abstract language, and because of that I was just pissed off and annoyed, so I just door slammed them. I didn't speak to them for about 3 days, but after that I was fine again. But the thing is, everything we do is for a reason. So the very fact we're ignoring you, we've door slammed you and we're not talking to you, is because you've done something very bad, and we won't do it to you otherwise. We won't do it to you unless we feel that we've been hurt and you need to know that you've done something wrong, which is why we've door slammed you. And also, again, if we've cut you out of our lives completely, it's because of you. To an extent it is because of us, but it is literally because of you, and because we know we can't fix you. That's the thing, guys. Don't live with, you know, black holes, and don't have relationships with people who are black holes and negative energy. It's just no point. The thing is, you think that you can be a knight in shining armor, you think you can save them, but if they're a black hole that never changes, think about it. You're someone who's constantly giving positivity, good, reassurance, and helping them, and at the same time they're constantly absorbing your energy and draining you and just sucking it in and making it negative, and in doing that it drains you, and slowly you become the person you're with due to chameleonism. You slowly become negative. So be aware of that, and especially when you're in the grip or you're stressed and you're using your SE, you might not make good judgments. So talk to people about your problems. If they're your friends, they will help you with your problems, and because of that you can have a detached view and learn to progress and improve, rather than being stuck in the same cycle, whether it be a relationship, whether it be with your friends, or whether it's you just being at home all the time. Learn to balance, guys, and don't have too much of one thing, basically put. Thank you guys for watching. This was a fairly long video, but I've said everything I need to say. So the 5 points are, the 5 negative points are: we're sensitive, we're very private, we're perfectionist, everything we do has to be done for a reason, and we burn out easily. Now, because I've said those 5 things, don't focus on them as negatives. Think about how they can be turned into positives. If you change your focus, nothing can stop you. That's the thing. I mean, like, yes, those 5 things are negatives and they're aspects you need to be aware of, but learn to improve them, learn to balance, and learn to kind of project away from them rather than stay within them. As always, thank you guys for watching. This is TheBarracuda57, over and out.